Hurricane Florence. It's coming, and it's coming tomorrow in a big way. President Trump declaring emergency status. North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, evacuations underway. Governor Ralph Northam also declaring state of emergency in Virginia. We don't know where this storm Florence is going to hit, but it's going to hit somewhere, and it's going to hit hard. We are back in Chesapeake in our flagship today to monitor everything that's going on. Came back from D.C. last night. I can tell you that I could have had a picnic out in the middle of the road on 64 East or 95 South. Normally getting home from there is a nightmare, not a car anywhere. Zero cars, just me. It was the eeriest thing. Going through the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, I was the only car in there heading east. Now, west, bumper to bumper, basically from Williamsburg last night all the way to Washington, D.C. So people heading out, they're evacuating, and lots of things can happen here in Virginia. There's two storm predictions, one by the European model that says it's going to hit Charleston, go southwest through Georgia, Atlanta, and Macon. The other one, the U.S. hurricane version, saying it's going to come up on the North Carolina coast, could slam directly into Norfolk. Can you imagine that? 25 inches of rain, winds. It's going to be a disaster. That's why we're all hunkered down here in Chesapeake. I'm not in Zone A, so I didn't have to evacuate. Joining us now to give us an update on what he is doing in Virginia and what the preparedness is. Joining us now, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. Governor, great to have you with us, sir.
Yeah, John, good to be with you. I enjoyed seeing you in Newport News over Labor Day and always enjoy being on your show. And appreciate you covering this storm and giving the information to your listeners. It's very, very important. As you said, this is a monster storm. It has a mind of its own right now, and obviously we're following it very closely, but we want everybody to be safe. That's what we need at the end of the day.
So, Governor, you declared a state of emergency in Virginia. So tell everybody what that means. And you also have an evacuation zone, which is Zone A, which means if you live in that area, you have to get out. You got to evacuate. Can you just elaborate on what the preparedness is, what your plans on, and what those of us in Southeast Virginia need to do?
Well, John, just as you said, kind of watching this in Chesapeake, we have a lot of very hardworking people that are experts here in Richmond. We have a command center, and on Saturday I did declare a state of emergency, and what that does is it allows us to have our resources available. The Department of Emergency Management is very involved. Certainly, the National Guard is on standby. We have over 1,500 men and women right now that are activated and ready to go. I had a discussion with President Trump on Monday evening, and he has graciously declared an emergency declaration, which allows us to have federal resources. On Monday evening, as you know, we have 4 zones in Virginia now, A through D, and I ordered a mandatory evacuation of Zone A. And these are very low-lying areas. If people need to know what zone they're in, John, they can go to knowyourzoneva.org, or they can actually pick up the phone and call 211. And if they're in Zone A, we are ordering that evacuation for them to go to higher ground, inland. And we're monitoring this on an hourly basis. And we've got shelters set up across the eastern part of Virginia that are on a regional basis. We've also got some state shelters at our universities. So we've done everything that we can. I'm very proud of our agencies. Everybody's working very hard. And as we say, John, as you've heard this before, we prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But right now, this storm seems to have a mind of its own. So I encourage everybody to be vigilant, to pay attention to stations like yours, listen to the latest and our recommendations, and at the end of the day, we'll get through this and keep everybody safe. We're also very worried about North Carolina and South Carolina, and we'll see what happens in Virginia. If this storm stays south, we're obviously going to be willing to help our neighbors out. That's the way we do in this country, and that's the way Virginia will move forward.
Okay, Governor, if you don't mind, you mentioned a website, knowyourzoneva.org.
Exactly. KnowYourZoneVA.org.
So KnowYourZoneVA.org. If you don't know what zone you're in, where you live, you go to that site, you plug your address in, it's going to come up, and you've ordered an evacuation, sir, for Zone A, correct?
Exactly, and we did that as of Monday night, and I was going to try to wait till Tuesday morning, but we had concerns of families that have children in school, making decisions what to do with their children, and so we went ahead and did it Monday evening.
Governor, just a quick geographical lesson here. Zone A, just give us a quick synopsis of basically what that includes.
It's mainly right along the waterways, John, and certainly on the eastern shore. As you know, that's where I'm from.
Right.
Especially the seaside of the eastern shore. Most of that up and down through Accomack and Northampton County is in Zone A. If you look at Accomack County on the bay side, areas like Saxis up in the northern part of Accomack County are in that zone. And then around Norfolk along the Lafayette River, coming around, Cape Henry, and then heading south along the ocean side down in the Pungo region. So if people go to that website, it'll pretty clearly show them where they are. And if they don't have access to the internet, they can call 211 and let them know where they live, and they'll be able to notify them if they're in Zone A.
Just call 211, John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. If you're in Virginia and you do not know what zone you're in, you can go to KnowYourZoneVA.org. No, that's K-N-O, right? KnowYourZoneVA.org. Or if you don't have a phone, dial 211. Somebody will answer. You can figure it out. But if you're in Zone A, you need to get out. That'll include the whole shore area, Virginia Beach, the whole bit. Get out. I'm not in Zone A. We live in Chesapeake, so right now we're monitoring it, sir. But your preparation seems spot on, no question. Now, one of the big concerns, Governor, that everybody has is power, because we've had so much, oh my goodness, the rain in southeast and central Virginia this year and right up through Washington, D.C. I mean, I don't know what the record is, but it's got to be close, because I only know this because my son plays baseball in high school, and we've had half our tournaments in the spring and the summer rained out. So it's always raining. I don't know how much more rain this area can absorb, and this could dump, 20, 25 inches, right?
You're exactly right, John. And, what happens is that, the trees are very vulnerable, and we have uprooted trees, obviously flooding. And what I think people need to be reminded of, we certainly worry about the wind, but it's actually the flooding that is the cause of loss of life. So, when these storm surges come in and feet of water are added to our tides, it's just very, very dangerous. And the reason for the evacuation, obviously we want people to be safe, but we can't get to these areas once they get flooded. And so people need to understand that, and that's why I hope that they will heed our warning and go to higher ground and inland.
Okay, so we're going to know really on Thursday. The other problem with this thing is now we're understanding, Governor, that it could linger, or I think they call it in meteorological terms that a storm could stall right over Virginia. Just stay there for 36 hours, dumping more rain and more wind. So we just don't know.
They are, and John, the forecasters are great, and they're just working so hard. But as I said earlier, these storms have a mind of their own, and they're different models. And so when we look at the TV, we see a track that it's going to go into the middle to lower part of North Carolina, but it's possible that it can go anywhere. And so we're not going to let our guard down until we know everything is safe. And so I just encourage people to be vigilant, to pay attention and to listen to shows like yours and get the best information they can, and then certainly make a decision to keep themselves and their families safe.
Well, Governor, you're always going to get the best information on the John Fredericks Radio Network. I appreciate that plug. Thank you. Hey, how about those Redskins, Governor? What do you think?
They're looking strong, and John, I had the the Redskins over to our house, a reception, and was able to talk to the coach and Bruce Allen, several of the athletes. Darryl Green was there, and I went out on a limb and I predicted that the Redskins are going to be in Atlanta for the Super Bowl this year. So, we'll keep an eye on things. But they looked strong in the first game. Alex Smith, I think, had a good game. Adrian Peterson, man, I really watched. I like watching him run, and I believe they play Indianapolis this weekend. I'm confident they'll beat Indianapolis, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I tell you what, Chap Peterson predicted they were going to win 10 games and get into the playoffs. I agree with him, and I think they are. Alex Smith might not have the reputation of winning the big games, but he wins regular season football games. I mean, that's been his history. He just manages games. He's not flashy, wins games. Now, let me ask you this, and I know you have to take off, but Governor McAuliffe tried really hard to get the Redskins in Virginia. He failed, and he's like, Mr. Jobs guy and Mr. Deal Maker. Any chance that you'll be able to get the Redskins to Virginia?
I had a nice conversation with the owner, Dan Snyder, and as you know, they practice in the preseason in Richmond, and we've enjoyed having them here in the Commonwealth. And I let Mr. Snyder know that our doors are open, and we would love to have the Redskins, especially in Northern Virginia. They're obviously looking at being back in the location of RFK, and I guess they're talking to Maryland as well. And I understand that, but a lot of the fans, as you know, come from Virginia. A lot of the players live in Virginia, so why not build the stadium in Virginia? So that's what I encouraged him to do, and he's going to have to make that decision at the end of the day. But we'd love to have him here, and a lot of Redskin fans in Virginia. All
right, well, let's get him here in Virginia. Governor Ralph Northam, thank you very much. When this is over, we'll have you back. We'll talk politics. No politics today, sir. We got to prepare for this storm. That's what I'm focused on, and I really appreciate you being on. Again, Governor Ralph Northam has declared a state of emergency for Virginia and an evacuation for Zone A. If you don't know where you are, go to knowyourzoneva.org or call 211, and you'll find out. If you're in Zone A, the governor has ordered you to evacuate. Governor, thank you for being with us. Great to see you a couple weeks ago, and it's always fun to be with you, and thank you, sir, so much.
Thanks, John, and stay safe.